Oh, I'm sorry. Were you expecting something a little more humble? Were you expecting something a little more humble? I told you if the Cowboys win, I'll be back today in full excitement. It would be a great Friday if the Cowboys got the win yesterday against the Saints. Lo and behold, they do. That's the reason for the drip. Cowboy hat, Dak Prescott cannot lose that game. Cowboys take care of business. But welcome back to episode 32 of the Sicko Sports Podcast. Thank you guys for being here. Like always, please, it helps the channel so much. Subscribe, like, hit the alert button at the bottom there. Make sure that you guys catch up on every video that I drop, not just podcast episodes, but any clips, any highlight videos, film sessions, all those things are still coming. So please make sure you go ahead and hit those buttons and comment down below anything that you guys want to see differently, anything that you disagree with. I'm open to everything, man. Post that, comment below. It helps the algorithm. It helps the channel grow. Thank you guys as always for being here. And let's get straight into it. My Cowboys, we them boys. Now, I know you guys are going to say, look at this guy, man. You beat the Saints. It wasn't that impressive. And I agree. I honestly agree. It wasn't that impressive of a win. The New Orleans Saints are not a good football team by any means. By nobody's standards are they a great football team. Taysom Hill, we're going to get to him. But that's not a winning quarterback. That's not a winning team. They have a lot of guys out. I talked on Wednesday about the importance of Alvin Kamara to this offense and what he means to the New Orleans Saints and how much better the offense would look with Kamara. I was wrong. Kamara actually didn't play. Reports going up to the game is that he would, and then of course, game time decision, he actually ends up not playing. So, that's on me. Obviously teams are going to hide those injuries. They're not going to really tell you if it's a game time decision. They're not going to either put that he's active or inactive until game day, and they did what most teams do, say he's going to be active, even if they knew he wasn't going to play from the beginning. But the Saints definitely struggled without him. They struggled overall. They're a bad football team. The Dallas Cowboys, though they won the game, though it wasn't very close. I mean, it was close in times, but it was never really a threat. It's not like the Saints were up at any point. Cowboys didn't have to claw their way back. But there is major concerns for me as far as the offense goes. Defensively, we're starting to get better, but Kellen Moore's offense is presenting some weaknesses. There are some things that I'm seeing from Kellen Moore where I'm saying, oh, damn, teams are starting to figure us out. Teams are starting to figure out how to play Kellen Moore. Load the box, play man-to-man on the outsides, tight, pressed, cover one coverage is definitely affecting us a little bit more. The one thing I didn't like is when you see the Saints, we're playing very similar defense, right? Press coverage, cover one. What the New Orleans Saints were doing was running a lot of bunch sets, rub routes, pick routes, whatever you want to call them, to be able to take advantage of those one-on-one coverages. And I didn't like that Kellen Moore wasn't really taking advantage of it the same way. Kellen Moore was running a lot of dig routes, a lot of comeback routes, things that are not necessarily, cover one man-to-man press beaters. He's just kind of relying on the abilities of CeeDee Lamb, of Amari Cooper, of Michael Gallup to just say, like, hey, you guys, even though we're not running things that would necessarily make it harder for you, we just feel like our guys are better than yours, which was the case, but it's not always going to be the case. We're making it a lot harder for ourselves if we were just to run these same bunch sets, rub routes, all those type of things that are considered cover one beaters, man beaters. Just didn't see enough of them. Whenever we went to these quick slants and out of these bunch sets, we did do it. It was effective. CeeDee Lamb, a lot of passes on quick slants. Amari Cooper had one on a quick slant. Like, it was there. And then our running game is struggling. Just no push, whether it's Zeke, whether it's Pollard, it doesn't really matter. Running in between the tackles is just not, it hasn't been working for weeks now. It hasn't been going for many, many weeks. And that's a real question mark for the Dallas Cowboys. In order to get into this playoff push, in order to get a playoff run going, we need to run the football. We need to run it effectively between the tackles. The thing I did like to see at the end, if it seems like I'm bashing Kellen Moore, one thing that I did like from Kellen Moore towards the end of the game, especially when you saw the big run from Tony Pollard, the big touchdown run, he started pulling. He started running toss plays, pin and pull multiple guards, pull a guard in the tackle, get out into the perimeter. That's one way, man. These teams are loading the box. They know we're going to run in between the tackles. Our running game at times just becomes very simplistic. Yes, we want to be physical. Yes, we want to be have the ability to say it doesn't really matter. We're going to be able to move guys around, push guys back, and run in between the tackles. But when we're not doing it, when we're just simply not out being more physical than another team, when we're not imposing our will on another team, you have to be creative with the run game. You can't abandon it. You just have to be creative. And luckily, we did become a little creative at the end. That toss play, we ran it a couple more times at the end of the game. Why we stopped running the ball with the lead with under 5 minutes left is beyond me. Again, Kellen Moore did make me concerned. And for a lot of people that talk about Mike McCarthy, about how they're not a big fan of him, I think today was a good sign. Like, if Kellen Moore has full control, that might be what we see. Like, those very questionable decision making. I know a lot of people are like, oh, Mike McCarthy, he gets too simplistic. He gets too routine. Mike McCarthy would have ran the ball under 5 minutes, in my opinion. Like, he's not going to go out there and say, let's throw the ball, on first down and let's throw it on second down when we have a touchdown, a 2-score lead, and we are under 5 minutes. I think Mike McCarthy would have had more sense to run the football there. So, not a great game for Kellen Moore and his job, but he did become creative enough to help us get the win. Dak and the receivers, you can still see a little bit of stuff off, man. Just a little concern for just the play calling. You see CeeDee Lamb a couple times not really being in position. You see him having to get Cooper into the right spots. And with time, hopefully down this stretch, hopefully this last 5 games of the season now, Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup can stay healthy to create a better rapport with Dak so they can get on time. Big throws from Dak, couple misses. It is what it is, man. He's still going to make the plays that we need to make. Defensive improvements, Demarcus Lawrence back for the first time since week 1 against Tampa Bay. Demarcus Lawrence, like I said last time, man, the biggest difference that he's going to make, not only his skill set, not only is he better than anyone we're going to have out there, whether it's Golston, whether it's Dorrance Armstrong, not only is he better than those guys, but the bigger thing that he does is he moves Micah Parsons back to the linebacker position. The last few weeks, especially with Randy Gregory out, when Micah Parsons wasn't able to play linebacker, he became a predominant, pass rushing defensive end, setting the edge, trying to get to the quarterback. When that happens, though Micah Parsons still looks spectacular in that role, he can play any role he wants. Though he looked effective there, what it does is it forces guys like Keanu Neal to play a position he doesn't want to play. It forces a guy like Leighton Vander Esch to take on a role that we don't necessarily want him to take on, right? It forces Keanu Neal to have to play a traditional linebacker position. That's not what we have him for. He's a converted guy, but he's more of a big, anytime you see Keanu Neal out there, it's really a big nickel, right? That's really what it is a big nickel. He's not a traditional linebacker that you can have in there and say, hey man, fill gaps, shed blocks, get down in there and make plays. He's not that type of guy. And for Leighton Vander Esch, the flip side, right? We don't want him turning and running with guys, having him follow tight ends or receivers out of the slot. Like, that's not what we want. Even having running backs, I posted, I believe it was to Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. I posted something on Twitter where last week, Josh Jacobs comes out of the backfield and literally puts a move on Leighton Vander Esch that left him on the floor. Like, he literally just broke his ankles on a route. Vander Esch was on the floor because he couldn't stay with him. That's not what we want him to do. Micah Parsons is so much better than Keanu Neal in terms of stopping the run. He's so much better than Vander Esch in terms of being able to turn and run or guard running backs or tight ends in a man-to-man. That's what we want Micah Parsons to do. Yes, we still want him blitzing. Yes, we still want him coming off the edge, but when we want it, right, on those situations, on certain downs, on certain plays that we feel is coming, we want to use him as that Swiss Army knife, and Demarcus Lawrence allows us to do so. So definitely a good sign for the Dallas Cowboys. And Demarcus Lawrence played great. He got a couple quarterback pressures. He was able to get some stops on a run. He got a tackle for loss. Demarcus Lawrence is a baller, man. There's a reason why he gets paid. A lot of people think he's overpaid because of the sack count. If you just look at the pressures, if you just look at how many times he's hurrying the quarterback, and if you look at his ability he is very underrated against the run. The way he sets the edge and his ability to crash inside on opposite side runs, like, he is very, very good. He is paid for a reason. It's what I said about Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and these boys too. These guys get paid for a reason, man. It matters. Having your big salary, big payday, top draft picks out there matters. If it didn't, then why would they even do it? If it didn't matter, why would these teams have these guys that make millions upon millions upon millions of dollars if it didn't matter and it should always be the next man up? No, it's a next man up when it's one or two guys. When you have this many guys out, it makes a difference. Anthony Brown continues to get taken advantage of. Teams are definitely focusing on him. The more we play cover one, the more we play press coverage, you're going to continue to see those crossing routes. I told you, those rub routes. To his defense, some of those routes are just very difficult to defend. Some of them are just they're calling the perfect play for the defense that we're running, but it goes from that route being very difficult to defend to that route being wide open. The touchdown was a man-to-man Anthony Brown's guy. Again, difficult, right? Kind of a pick play. He kind of got stuck in between, I think, Jaron Kearse and whoever Kearse was guarding as they crossed each other. He kind of bumped into him, got caught up, and he left the guy open. But it's one of those situations where it's not just a completion. It ends up being just a walk-in touchdown for a receiver. And we saw it again on another play later on in the game. Taysom Hill with his bad finger has a guy, basically same play, just crossing route from right to left on a cover one. Anthony Brown's one-on-one gets left just way behind, but Taysom Hill just can't make a damn throw. But that could have been a touchdown as well. So we have to get our guys back. Anthony Brown, when you go, what's the solution, right? How is Anthony Brown, how are teams not going to pick on him? How are teams not going to do that week to week to week? Well, we're not going to get better, right? There's not a corner coming in that's going to take Anthony Brown's job. Anthony Brown's not going to get any better. Like, he is what he is. But with the return of Demarcus Lawrence, with Randy Gregory coming back, with Neville Gallimore coming back, with Tristan Hill coming back, all of a sudden that defensive line and that pressure on the quarterback can increase, and that's how we're going to help out Anthony Brown with an increased pressure. When we get Demarcus Lawrence, Randy Gregory, and Micah Parsons all rushing the passer at the same time, I think we become a different team. Oso Odighizuwa continues to impress when Neville Gallimore comes back, which he should be back pretty soon. This team is on the right track defensively. Offensively, like I said, some things to figure out. Kellen Moore's got to get more creative in the run game. We have to get the run game going. Which leads me to Taysom Hill, man. This is going to be the rant of the day. I'm going to get into it. I don't want to bash Taysom Hill. I'm not a Taysom Hill hater. It sounds like I am, and it consistently sounds like I am just because the Saints forced me to be. Sean Payton forces me to sound like a Taysom Hill hater because of these contracts and these extensions and the way people talking about him. I saw, who was it? Greasy come out preseason. It was a Saints preseason game when they were talking about the quarterback battle between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. Greasy's exact words, well, I'm paraphrasing, not his exact words, but paraphrasing here. He says, Jameis Winston, we know, his issues, his decision-making, all the interceptions. We know he has a big arm, but he just cannot make good decisions. He constantly makes bad decisions. Then he goes on to talk about Taysom Hill, which all that stuff is fine and fair about Jameis. Then he goes against Taysom Hill, and he's like, and then you have a guy that can do everything. He can do everything on the field. He's so dynamic, big arm, big. I'm like, where are you getting this information from that Taysom Hill can do everything? He can do everything besides play quarterback. He can do everything besides be efficient with the ball, be accurate with ball location. Like, he is not a quarterback, man. He is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. He can't do it. And the thing that frustrates me the most about Taysom Hill's contract, about the way people talk about Taysom Hill, is that there's 100 of Taysom Hills out there that are not in the NFL. It's just that simple. There are hundreds of quarterbacks. You're telling me, and not to make this a race thing, I'm not saying that the league is racist or anything like that, but you're telling me that there's not a bunch of former college quarterbacks, black quarterbacks, who were out there and they were running read option and triple options, and they are athletes that can throw the ball decently, as good as Taysom Hill can. We saw what Taysom Hill can do throwing the football. We've seen how inaccurate Taysom Hill is. You're telling me there's not a bunch of guys that can do what Taysom Hill can do? Absolutely there is. The problem is teams aren't going to waste their time creating packages for these guys. Why am I going to waste my time for a quarterback? Why am I going to waste my time to have a guy be put in quarterback packages when I already have a quarterback? Why am I going to waste my time putting this guy in tight end packages, running back packages, when I have a better tight end and a better running back? Like, it doesn't make it. I'm not going to waste my time creating these packages. Sean Payton has, and it might not be to his detriment. It might be to Sean Payton's credit that he's putting in these things, because it does add a different dynamic. Taysom Hill can be effective when used properly, coming in these wildcats, these quarterback powers, goal line situations, being in the backfield along with a quarterback, shifting out to tight end, coming out as a split end. We've seen how good he is in punt coverage and kick coverage. Like, there's a place for Taysom Hill. I'm not hating on Taysom Hill. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be in the league, that he shouldn't have a good role. What I'm saying is that there's a bunch of guys that can do that. There are tons of guys that can play that role. The problem is that he's not there. You're telling me that Terrell Pryor couldn't play that exact role when he was in the league? Terrell Pryor was very simple. You're either going to be a stud quarterback or a stud receiver. If you can't be one of the two, then there's no place for you in the league. Terrell Pryor could have easily played that role. Kick coverage, punt coverage, split out of the backfield, motion out, use him in quarterback powers, have him, run pass option on plays. Terrell Pryor would have been, in my opinion, so much better than Taysom Hill in the role that Taysom Hill's playing. And there's tons of guys that can possess that same trait. The guys that, if you look at all these college quarterbacks, JT Barrett, so many dudes that could have played that Taysom Hill role that just don't get the opportunity. Guys just don't, coaching staffs just don't want to waste time creating packages for these guys. And the point is that it's not Taysom Hill's fault. He's doing what he's supposed to do. I like Taysom Hill. It's just he's not it as a quarterback, and there's so many other guys that can, and hopefully this does open up those floodgates and give these guys these opportunities. Hopefully other coaching staffs go, hey man, that quarterback in college that we say he's not an NFL arm, he doesn't have NFL accuracy, well, let's just bring him in and do what the Saints do with Taysom Hill. Hopefully that's the start of the trend. I hope that's the way it goes, because there's so many guys out there that can do the things that Taysom Hill can do. Moving on from the Cowboy game, like I said, big win for the Cowboys. I also did call 28-17. I know the score was 27-17, but hey man, 28-17, give me some damn credit. I was off by 1 point. Moving on from the NFL for a second, we're going to turn to the UFC. There's a fight night, Font versus Aldo, a big time fight coming up here. It's a free fight night. If you have ESPN Plus, go ahead and check it out. Don't miss this one. It's not a pay-per-view, and it's going to be a really good fight night. First fight I want to get into, I think that opens up the main card, is Alex Morano versus Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall, I mean, these are kind of two journeymen, very similar. A lot of training. These guys have been around. They train with some of the best. They're good. Haven't been able to get over the hump. They're the type of guys where as soon as they get a notable win, they come back and get a notable loss. Mickey Gall has wins over Mike Perry and Jordan Williams as of recently. He's on a fight win streak. This is a fight to me of two journeymen in the fight world. Mickey Gall will always be beloved because of his win over CM Punk. People will always love him for that. People hate CM Punk in the MMA world. They hated that he tried to come in and thought that he could just go from being an entertainer in the WWE and somehow be an effective fighter. I appreciate the fact that CM Punk tried it. I think it's cool because it shows people like, hey man, just because you're a bit athletic and because you put in some time and some hard work, like, this is a different animal, man. You have to have a fighting mentality. You have to have a fighter spirit, and you have to put in serious amount of time and effort to do this. You can't just say, I want to do this. I want to, start training for a little while and then get my hands dirty. They did him a little bit wrong with Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall is a tough matchup for him, and especially considering the fact that he goes from the WWE straight into the UFC was weird. But Mickey Gall will always be beloved by MMA fans for that. Brendan Allen versus Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis recently knockout over Phil Halls. It was a firefight. Chris Curtis possesses knockout power. He's a dangerous opponent. But I like Brendan Allen in this fight. Brendan Allen, to me, is just a lot more controlled. I don't think he's going to do what Phil Halls did against Chris Curtis, which is just, I'm going to swing. We're going to just swing, and whoever lands. I think I'm going to land over you. Phil Halls had some success, but he got caught himself and got put out. That's not the type of fighter Brendan Allen is. Brendan Allen does have some big notable wins over Punahele Soriano just recently. He has a win over Kyle Dawkins. He has a finish win over Kevin Holland. So this guy is very good. He's very technically sound. He's going to be a more patient, boring, I know people love to say boring fighter. His fight over Punahele was a decision win. And I thought Punahele Soriano was going to win that fight. I was all on the Punahele hype train going into that Brendan Allen fight. I thought Soriano was about to skyrocket, and Brendan Allen proved me wrong to his credit. So because of that, I'm not going to go against him, man. I bet against him last time. I can't bet against him this time. His wins are notable. Those are legit fighters that he has wins over. So I'm going to pick Brendan Allen in that one. The return of Clay Guida. He comes back to face on Leonardo Santos. Clay Guida, I talked earlier, I just talked about Alex Morano and Mickey Gall being journeyman fighters. Clay Guida at this point of his career. Clay Guida is one of those outliers, man. A lot of times I talk about fighters and what happens if there's not a path to like a championship and there's no real reason to stay in the fight game and keep winning if you can't see a path to being a champion. If there's no direct path to being the best, there's no reason to continue to stay and fight. Clay Guida is the outlier of that. Clay Guida's like, I don't care if there's not a path for me to be champion. I don't care if people look at me and say, like, this dude will never be the champion again. I don't really care about that. I just want to fight. I just want to keep fighting. I don't care where I'm at in the rankings. I don't care who I'm fighting in the rankings. I don't care if I'm a long shot, if I have to go on a 6-fight win streak to try to get a champ. I just want to fight. That's Clay Guida, just a fighter. Just when I talk about fighter mentality, it's all Clay Guida. So he's a fan favorite, man. I'm really excited to see Clay Guida back in there. Dude's always been a fan favorite, an OG vet of the game. I'm rooting for him, man. I hope Clay Guida gets to win. Not an easy fight for him, but I do hope he pulls it off. Jimmy Crute, Jamal Hill, both coming off of losses. If you remember Jimmy Crute, they're both actually coming off of kind of injury losses, right? They both lost, but they're both coming off of injuries within that loss. Jimmy Crute had that kick from Anthony Smith. He took a leg kick, and I don't know if it damaged his knee or if it was just drop leg, like hit a nerve where he just went down, but he ended up making it to the end of the round. As he came off the stool and tried to go into the second round, he couldn't walk. Like, his leg just wasn't working. It didn't look like he was in a whole bunch of pain at that point. It just seemed like his leg was just not cooperating with the rest of his body. They had to call the fight off, and that's how that one got stopped. And then Jamal Hill had the nasty broken elbow against Paul Craig. He got him stuck in that arm bar and broke his arm. I mean, he looked like a damn jellyfish out there. His arm was just literally swinging around as Paul Craig had him in kind of like a triangle arm bar and then just elbowing him, and his arm was just flapping around. It was tough to watch. But Jamal Hill, Jimmy Crute, both coming back off of those losses. Jimmy Crute is 12-2. Jamal Hill, his last loss was his only loss. He's 8-1. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that fight goes. I hope both of them can stay healthy within the fight, coming off of those injuries. They're not injuries where I feel like they're going to be reoccurring. These are just kind of both like your elbow, unless you get put in that exact same position again, it's not like your elbow's just going to snap for no reason. And for Jimmy Crute, it's going to be tough to imagine you getting kicked. If it was that perennial nerve that went out, it's going to be, it doesn't happen time and time again. Brad Riddell versus Rafael Fazayev. These are two bangers, both on winning streaks, both 10-1. Weird thing about this fight, a lot of people think this is potential for a knockout. Both guys have extreme power. They've both shown the ability to possess that power and knock somebody out. But here's the weird thing about this one. 5 of their last 6 fights, right? 2 of the last 3 for Fazayev and all of the last 3 for Riddell have went to decision. They're not finishing guys at a high rate, at a high clip. This fight, though, still has fight of the night potential for me. This fight right here is one that I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this is going to be a knockout. Like, these guys have gone to decision quite a bit recently, and if I had to bet on it, I would say that this would be another decision win for one of these two guys. Like I said, both 10-1, both coming off on winning streaks. Another example of what the UFC does, right? This is the difference between the UFC and boxing. They say, oh, you guys are on winning streaks. You guys both have really good records at 10-1. We're not going to sit here and give you guys easy fights. We're not going to watch your guys as thing builds. Oh, you guys are both on the same type of trajectory. You guys are both on the same path. Cool. Fight each other. Done and done. Right? Like, we got 2 prospects, both 10-1, both on a winning streak. Just fight each other, and we'll be able to see who is and who isn't in that fight. Another example of what the UFC does, very different than the boxing world, where if this is boxing, neither one of these guys are fighting anybody anytime soon. Like, they're going to continue to build that record and hopefully set up a fight with some big guys down the line. UFC is like, nope, you guys are both looking on the same trajectory. Just go ahead and fight each other so we can cancel one out. And then lastly on that card, the main event is Rob Font, Jose Aldo. It's a weird fight for me, right? Do you want to be kind of in with the new, out with the old? Or do you want to stay nostalgic and see Jose Aldo get another shot, another run? Jose Aldo, to me, with his move down to this division, it's very clear to me that Jose Aldo is a guy where he just wants to see his path to being a champion. He wants to be a champion in the UFC. He thought that this weight class was going to be the chance. He had the opportunity, fought Petr Yan for the title, got beat pretty convincingly. He had some moments in that fight, but Petr Yan just dominated later in that fight, took over, made Aldo a bloody mess. It was a fight that went way longer than it should have. Jose Aldo took a lot of punishment, a lot of unnecessary punishment in that fight. So when you see Font and Aldo, it makes me wonder if Aldo, right, if he wins or loses, how much time does he have left in the USC? Because like I said, he wants to be a champ. I can see him winning eventually. Maybe he gets to another title shot. If he loses that title fight, I can see him retiring after and just saying, man, if I can't be the champion, I don't want to just fight just to fight, right? I talked about Clay Guida, all these situations, but Jose Aldo to me wants to be a champion. And if he can't be a champion, I don't know how much longer. If he loses to Font, I don't know how much longer Jose Aldo has. I think this could be his last stretch, his last run at being a champion in this organization. And for Rob Font, man, a guy who is coming up, and like I said, it's a weird situation because if Aldo wins, it kind of leaves that division a little bit stagnant. It's a great division, which I'm not going to say it's stagnant at all, but if Aldo wins, it's kind of a contender eliminator for Font. He drops back down. Aldo's kind of just stays where he was. We already saw Aldo and Jan. We just saw Aldo fight for that championship. So it just kind of leaves the division to be like, we were kind of hoping for someone new. If Font wins, then there's new blood. Hey, Font possibly getting a title fight. Dillashaw still has to come back. Sanhagen is still out there. Jan and Aldo, Aljamain Sterling, I'm sorry, not Aldo, Aljo. Jan and Sterling still have to fight each other. So if Font wins, it adds a new dimension. It adds another name in that hat. So it's one of those, like, which one do you want to see? Jose Aldo to me, man, is one of the GOATs, is one of the greatest to ever do it. His record, his resume speaks for itself. He has huge wins in there, huge losses in there, but the dude is a legend. I want to see Jose Aldo do it. It would be such a great story. Another Glover Teixeira story if he were to somehow get himself back into a title fight and win. It would be amazing to see. People would be so happy for Jose Aldo if he were to do that, for Jose Aldo if he were to do that. And with that being said, before we get over to NFL Week 13, we are going to have another NFL update for you guys. All right, first up, it is official. Notre Dame has announced their new head coach, who, in a surprising move, I talked about Notre Dame and I was throwing out some big names. I was throwing out Urban Meyer. I was throwing out Pete Carroll. There's some big names out there that they could have bought in. They don't. They go ahead and move Marcus Freeman from the defensive coordinator to head coach. They hire from within. Could be a good move for Notre Dame. It could be one of those locker room building type of moves where they fight for the guy. He's been there with these players and he can get it done. But it is surprising to me, a team with a notable name like Notre Dame who can pay big money to whoever they want, a team who maybe they could have been in that Urban Meyer, Pete Carroll sweepstakes. They decide, nope, we're not going to do it. We're going to name our guy now. We like a guy that we already have in-house in Marcus Freeman. They move him up. So congratulations to Marcus Freeman. This is a former NFL player. He was a linebacker that got drafted in the 5th round, I believe, played in the NFL for a little while. But he gets his first head coaching job. I hope it goes well for him, man. I'm always a fan of Notre Dame. I'm a believer that if Notre Dame football is good, then college football is good. Like, college football is always better when Notre Dame is playing great football. So I hope this guy works out, man. He's a young coach, I believe in his mid-30s, 35, 36. I hope he has a locker room. I hope he can succeed. They'll play hard for him. And we'll see how it goes, man. There's going to be a lot of weight on his shoulders. The unfortunate part is when you're not a big name, right? When you're not a big time, big paid, big notable name, former head coach, all these accolades that these other guys have. When you don't have that, the fan base can get real impatient with what you're able to do. So if he comes in his first year next season and they have a drop off from this year, they don't look so great, you're going to hear people already, this was a bad decision. We shouldn't have hired him. Why didn't we try to get somebody else? So I hope he succeeds, man. Best of luck to Marcus Freeman. Next up, Ian Rappaport report on Odell Beckham Jr. He did not practice yesterday with a hip injury, and his status for Sunday is now up in the air. He was limited Wednesday, but did not practice Thursday. It's not considered a major issue, but some questions for this week about his availability. So we don't know if Odell's going to play or not. Another question mark for Odell, man. His biggest issue has been his availability. Like I said, whether you're a running back, receiver, all the talent in the world, your best quality, your best trait is your availability. It doesn't matter how great you are if you're just not available, if you're always hurt. And for Odell, that continues to be the question mark, man. When is this guy going to be full strength, full go, full health? Can he have a full season ahead of him, man? We haven't seen it in a while. that's the big question mark for Riddell moving forward with the contract extension, whether he stays in LA or tries to go somewhere else. The big question is, are we going to get 16, 17 games out of you? How many games out of you are we going to get a season? And how many healthy games out of you are we going to get? There's a difference between how many games you're going to play compared to how many games are you actually going to be in shape to be out there, to be at your full strength, full go. How many games are we going to get? That's been the question mark for Odell for a few years now. So always, always an issue, always a concern whenever you do see Odell's name get brought up on the injury report, talking about not practicing, may not play come Sunday. I think he will. I honestly do. Odell I think at this point, with the new team, with what he's trying to prove, I think he's going to push himself and he's going to find a way to get out there. But we'll see. If he misses a game, then I think it's a big concern, because if he doesn't play, then it's not like, he's banged up and maybe it's better if we sit him. If he doesn't play, like, all right, he's not good to play. So, hopefully Odell gets out there and hopefully he does well, because if not, I mean, the Rams need him. The Rams are hurting, man. They're on a losing streak. Robert Woods is gone. They bring in Von Miller. They bring in Odell, and it has been downhill ever since. So the Rams need a big win. They need Odell to be healthy and get going. Report from Adam Schefter: Antonio Brown, 3-game suspension for misrepresenting his vaccination status. This is more on Bucs Antonio Brown. But this is another situation where it's like, enough is enough, man. Like, enough is enough for Antonio Brown. Enough is enough for the media. I don't have to see 14 updates on Antonio Brown. I've already seen Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport on ESPN, on NFL Game Day, on NFL Get Up. I've seen them on every single show, every single segment. I get it. This is a big deal. I'm not downplaying it and saying that it's no big deal. Antonio Brown lied about his vaccination status, right? I believe he presented a fake vaccination card. I get it. He's suspended. He's out. He is vaccinated. Weird situation for Antonio Brown. Like, it's just one of those situations where you're like, dude, why is it always you? Like, you have two choices. Don't get vaccinated and just go about your business the way all the other unvaccinated players are doing in the NFL, or get vaccinated and go about your business the way every other vaccinated player is doing in the NFL. You have those two options. His choice is, well, I'm not going to get vaccinated, present a fake vaccination card, and then get vaccinated anyway. What the hell are we doing, man? I don't get it's the need to just be so different. It's the need to say everybody's moving in these directions. I am not. If everybody's going left, everybody's going right, I'm going to start going in between. I'm going to run backwards. I'm just going to do something different than what everybody else is doing. And Antonio Brown again gets him into trouble for being that way. But on the flip side, for the media, okay, cool. He got suspended. He's out for 3 games. Give us the update. Give us the thing and keep it moving. They're acting like this is OJ and the white Bronco. Like, this isn't that big of a deal. He's suspended. Great. He gets his suspension. He's going to be out for 2 games anyway. It's a 3-game suspension. He was already ruled out for the next 2, so it's really just 1 game where he would have been available anyway that he's going to miss. But all right, we got it. I don't want to see any more updates on Antonio Brown. There's bigger stories, bigger things to get to in the NFL. But so for me, it's like we just keep beating a dead horse, and I get it. It's Odell. Whenever it's Odell, it's a bigger situation. But like I said, man, I don't need it. I don't need to see it anymore. And then now getting into NFL Week 13, the upcoming games this weekend. Big spreads this week, man. A lot of mismatches, a lot of games that you would feel very confident betting that money line on. Colts, Texans, Vikings, Lions, Giants, Dolphins, Bucks, Falcons, Eagles, Jets, Cardinals, Bears, all of those games, decent point spreads on them. You feel confident, like the Colts, Vikings, Bucks, Cardinals should all get the job done. They're all in a position where they need to keep winning games, and they all have fairly easy games this week. So not a whole lot of big games going on, but one that is one to keep an eye on that happens in the early block. Chargers at Cincinnati. This is a big game for both. Cincinnati right now is in a position where they can win the AFC North, a position where people did not figure they would be, with the Ravens, with the Steelers, with the way these teams are playing, with the Browns coming in. People figured the Bengals would be last place. It would seem so based off of last year. It would seem so based off of just roster and on paper. But surprisingly, the Bengals have been pretty good this year. They play against the Chargers, another team who has to continue to win. The Chargers are in a playoff hunt right now. Even in their division, they're in a tough spot. They can still, finish second in the division, get into the playoffs. But the way the Raiders are playing, the way that the Broncos have been playing, that loss to the Broncos, it's going to be tough. The Chargers need to go into Cincinnati and get a win. They have to stop the run. They have to be physical. I talked about it last week with the Chargers, just that lack of physicality, the thing I worried about with the Cowboys. You see it with the Chargers, man. They have to come out and set the tone, because if not, the Bengals have shown they are perfectly fine giving Joe Mixon the ball over and over and over again. They have to stop them. They have to force Joe Burrow into some third and longs. And on the other side, you got to take some pressure off of Justin Herbert, man. You got to get Austin Eckler going. You have to make things easy on them. Got to step up and be physical. I just don't like the game for the Chargers, man. I think the Bengals have been playing pretty well defensively. They've been pretty good, and like I said, Joe Mixon in that run game has been playing really well over the last few weeks. I'm getting the Bengals in that one. Jags Rams, again. Rams gotta have it. You play against a Jaguars team that you just can't. If the Rams lose this game, it full on panic mode. Whether Odell plays or not it matters, but whether he plays or not, you can't lose to the Jags. You can't lose to Jacksonville. At home, you can't do it. If they lose, LA is out on the Rams. You're going to see everyone out on the Los Angeles Rams. Very interested to see how Matt Stafford does, how he looks. He's been banged up. He's been looking pretty terrible over the last couple weeks. So Matthew Stafford needs a bounce back game. These Rams need a statement game. They need to come out, put the Jags away early so they can move into this latter half of this stretch here and finish off the season hot going into the playoffs. But the Rams, if they lose, it's full-on panic mode. I'm telling you, everyone's going to be out on the Rams this season. Washington against the Raiders, another team, two teams that just got to have this win. Both teams were fighting for that 6-7 seed in each division, or in each conference, rather, the NFC for the Washington, the AFC for the Raiders. Both these teams have to have this win, man, in order to stay afloat. If Washington loses this game, you can basically count them out from having any opportunity of winning the NFC East. And, like I said, right now, a lot of people are talking about Washington and how good they've looked. And, the Cowboys need to step up because Washington's coming. Their concern isn't winning the NFC East right now. Their concern is staying in contention to make the playoffs. Right? In order to win the NFC East, they have to win almost every single game, because they have to beat the Cowboys twice just to make sure that they go ahead and win, because it's hard to imagine the Cowboys losing all of their games. The Cowboys would have to lose every single game, and the Washington would have to win almost every single game in order for them to win the NFC East. So that's a far fetch, but what they want to do right now is stay ahead of Minnesota, stay ahead of some of these other teams like the Falcons, the Saints, and all these other teams that are kind of hanging around 5 wins. They want to stay ahead of those guys, so they need this win, because if they lose, forget the NFC East. You guys may not make the playoffs if they lose this game, so they need this against the Raiders. And the Raiders, on the flip side, I talked about that division, about the AFC West, and about how they still have the ability to finish second in that division. The Chiefs look like they're starting to go. They look like they're starting to become the Chiefs of old. They're trying to put together wins, but big game for both of these teams. One that I'm definitely going to be watching at that 3 o'clock block. Ravens, Steelers, another game that the Ravens have to have. The Steelers right now are not looking good. They look like they're on the downhill slope, man. They look like they are falling off. The wheels are completely falling off for the Steelers in the season. For Big Ben and the Steelers, this is 2 years now where things look good. Obviously, last year, the 11-0 start, things looked really, really good, and then they fell off a cliff. And this year, the same thing. It's the same time of the year where things just start imploding for the team. And for the Ravens, you can't get this loss. You have to win. If you're the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson back, he had a tough game last week, but they still found a way to win. He has to have a statement game. He has to come out and be Lamar Jackson at his best and get this win, put a stamp on that division, take control of that division, win it, and get into the playoffs as healthy as you can be. Niners, Seahawks, another week of the Seahawks playing at home. I'm still waiting for Russell Wilson to bounce back from that finger injury, from that surgery. He's been, Russell Wilson, I don't know. What's the difference between Russell Wilson right now and Geno Smith? Russell Wilson has not been good. Russell Wilson has been terrible since his return from that finger injury. The 49ers, big win for them if they can get the win. Going into Seattle, it's not going to be easy. We still want to see, maybe this is a game where Russell Wilson turns it on. Maybe this is a game where he kind of comes back and gets a big win, but it is tough to imagine him doing so. especially against a tough 49ers team who's running the ball effectively. Jimmy Garoppolo's playing better as of late. Their defense is playing a lot better as of late. I see the 49ers winning this game, and for the 49ers, they stay right there, like I said, right in that 5th, 6th spot in the NFC to get into the wild card. Obviously, they have the Cardinals in their division, so it's going to be tough for them. Tough to imagine them getting a home playoff berth. But as long as they get this W, I think they'll stay afloat. I think they can easily go in to the playoffs as a 5th or 6th seed. Now they're kind of chasing the Rams, right? Like, if the Rams lose this game, like I said, full panic mode. But even if they don't lose and the Niners win, they're right there. They're right behind LA, and they could take their spot as a 5 seed and not have to play against a Green Bay at home. Not have to play against one of those tough teams that you don't want to travel to. They can stay afloat and get themselves into, who's going to Dallas. Obviously that would be more ideal for them to travel into Dallas than it would be to travel into Green Bay. So if Green Bay is going to stay at number 2, if they're going to be the 2nd seed, they want to stay away from the bottom of that wild card picture. If they can get closer and be a 5 seed, I think it benefits them a lot more. Next game, Broncos Chiefs. Big game, big time game there. Broncos coming off of another win. They still look good, but it's a Sunday night game in Kansas City. The crowd there, man, the way that team gets after it at home, especially for a primetime game, I just don't see Denver being able to do enough offensively to outpoint the Chiefs. Even if Denver plays well defensively, even if they hold Kansas City under 30, I just don't see a way that the Broncos score up into the high 20s or 30s, which I think they would need to do on the road in Kansas City in order to win the game. I just can't see that happening, not behind Teddy Bridgewater and these guys. They've have good performances in the past. They are a team that has been looking better as of late, but I think Kansas City wins that game, and I think that this is the game that is the first step to sealing that division for Kansas City. A big win for them would be on Sunday night. And then the Monday night game, Patriots Bills. The New England Patriots, this is a huge game. Monday night, Patriots, Bills, both teams talking all that shit, right? The Bills are tired of being the little brother. They've been the little brother forever. Since Bill Belichick has taken over, they have been little brother at times, even less than little brother. But the Patriots on top of that division now, right at the time that you want to be. The Patriots playing hot. I told everybody this is the hottest team in the AFC weeks and weeks ago, and they continue to prove me right. This is a big game for Buffalo, man. You want to stop being a little brother. You want to prove that you're the better team in that division. You gotta win this game, and you have to win it convincingly. Like, you gotta put them away. No Tre'Davious White is an issue for the Bills. Gotta stop the run, and you gotta find a way to score. The New England Patriots defense has been very good as of late. All these dudes on the edge, Judon and these boys, Kyle Van Noy, J.C. Jackson, and these guys getting after the Patriots are a phenomenal team. The Bills can't lose, man. You just can't. You lose again, you know what I mean? You lose to the Patriots. That would be 2 out of the last 3. You're going to be a wild card team. I talked about the Rams being out of it. Now, of course, the Rams playing against the Jaguars is different than the Bills playing against the Patriots. Like, I think if they lose the Patriots, that doesn't mean that people are like, oh, this team's dead. But for the Bills' sake, for what they want to do moving forward, for being the team they thought they were, as far as affecting their confidence, they have to be able to beat the Patriots, man. You cannot continue to lose to this team over and over and over again. You have to beat them at some point. This is a huge game for Buffalo. For the Patriots, listen, no one expected the Patriots to be the best team or one of the best teams coming in to this year. People thought, hey, if Mac Jones plays well enough, we can see Bill Belichick and these dudes getting them into the playoffs. But no one thought this was going to be the second, possibly the number 1 seed in the AFC. Nobody saw that coming. Nobody saw it coming. So for them if they come out and win this game, it's going to put them at an all-time high. The tables will turn. People will start speaking differently. I said this last week. I want to see the Patriots play against a legit good team, a team that isn't banged up like the Titans, right? The last really good team, the last legit team that the Patriots played was the Cowboys, and they lost that game at home. Other than that, man, they've had the luxury of playing a relatively easy schedule. Now they've taken care of business. They've put an absolute whooping on teams, but even a game like the Browns where they put a whooping on the Browns, it was a game where Baker Mayfield, if you don't feel like he should be playing right now, he definitely should have been playing that game. He's banged up. They had running backs banged up and out of that game like it wasn't them at full strength. The Titans, everybody's out on the Titans now. no receivers out there. Derrick Henry's not out there. This is the first game where if they go out there and if they beat the Bills at home on primetime on Monday Night Football, my thing will change on the Patriots. I'm saying that they're most impressive, but I've been saying I want to see them get a big time win, a big time, not just performance wise. Because when you look at them and you just watch the film, watch their performance, if they've been on fire, they've been great. But my whole thing was I want to see them not just have a good performance. I want to see them have a good performance against a legit playoff team. And this is their opportunity. If they win this game, I will be all on the Patriots hype train. I will say that they should be the favorite to win the AFC, which is nuts to me. I said this last time. I'll say it again. This is Bill Belichick's best year in a long time. The expectations were not there. It's the first time coming into the season. No one talked about the Patriots to be a Super Bowl contender. That has not been the case for Bill Belichick since Tom Brady, or this has been the case for Bill Belichick since Brady left for so long when Tom Brady was there. Since the first time Tom Brady took over as a starting quarterback years and years ago, this is the first time where this team, where Bill Belichick, this is the first time in a long time where people did not talk about them being a Super Bowl contender, where people were wondering if they were even a playoff contender. Now here we are, week 13, and now I'm sitting here telling you if they beat the Bills at home, forget about playoff contender, forget about being a great team. They could be Super Bowl favorites after this week. It's a big time game there, man. I'm looking forward to it. Other than that, that's basically a wrap up. We'll get into Monday night. I'll give you the Monday night pick on Monday for that game. We'll rehash that. We'll be able to recap that UFC fight night. Other things coming up, NBA has been great. We're in full swing there. I will talk about NBA a little bit more moving forward. Probably Monday, Wednesday, I'll get into some NBA talk for you guys in case you want to hear a lot about the NBA as well. But in football season, man, especially down this stretch, it's going to be heavy football. It's going to be heavy football. We'll cover fight nights. We'll cover big pay-per-views in the UFC as well. But every week, every episode, you should expect a lot of football talk. But that wraps it up, man. Thank you guys so much for being here. Like always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the alert button if you haven't already on your way out. Be a friend. Tell a friend. Thank you guys. See you on Monday. Peace.